All right, we're recording now. Selene, the floor is all yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Carolina, and especially the speakers who have accepted to join this workshop. This is a workshop that we organized in cooperation with our sister projects, especially with the Data Support Center. So thank you again, Saba, for this support. And the objective of our workshop, let me share a presentation with you in order to Okay. I think you can see the screen is to discuss about the possibility to connect to European data spaces and general discussion about the open source platforms. But the most important result we would like to obtain from this workshop is to exchange experiences and also, if possible, have some suggestions on activities related, of course, to the projects and to the speakers are going to discuss about. And to get suggestions or possible ideas on making the right choices in order for our project. So then in our workshop, I'm going to briefly present NOUS. The architecture and the main objectives. I am a partner of the project. The partner is ICOR, which is a consortium of Italian universities, and more specifically from Unimore, which is one of the partners. Then we will have a presentation from Panayotis Moraitis, who is another partner of NOUS, and from Net Company, who is going to make a presentation on data spaces. And Mr. Sava Rogotis, who is going to represent two institutions, both of them two projects, let's say. Both of them are sister projects of NOUS, and those are the Data Space Support Center and the BDVA, so Big Data Value Association. And finally, Mr. Juanio Hierro, and who is the chairman of FIWARE and Technical Steering Committee. And FIWARE is another sister project of NOUS, and it's very important for us to exchange ideas and know something more about the experience made in this project, especially with reference to the selection of the open source platform, which is one of the main, it's a hot topic for NOUS. So I'm going to change the presentation. I don't know how it works with the questions, but I think I just can briefly introduce NOUS, which is the acronym of this title, which is a catalyst for European cloud services in the era of data spaces, high performance and edge computing. The project has started 1 year and 2 months ago. So we are close to the mid duration of the project. We have less than 2 years left to complete all our activities. Basically, we are a quite big consortium in which we have universities, research centers, like I said, University of Modena, Reggio Emilia, University of Pisa, their institute, who is the coordinator of the project, and also industrial partners like TIM, the Italian telecom, they for the electricity in Greece, just to name a few. Of course, you see the consortium is much bigger. Basically, I was very much involved in the writing of this of this proposal, and since the beginning, the main ambition, sorry, was to create this European cloud platform. All the motivation of this project was guided by the fact that in the cloud platform that we are currently using, especially in all over the world, but also in Europe, are for US. So American platforms, just to make an example, Google Cloud or Amazon are let's say, one of the biggest one. And in order to increase the competitiveness and of European products and also enter a little bit in competition with those very established products. And the European Commission has funded those NOUS and other projects. And our ambition is, in fact, to propose something new. So it's very, very important and let's say difficult results that we have to reach until the end of the project. We have also 4 use cases and some components which consist from, you see from these slides, about data storage, computational components in order to speeding up computation, and also edge components. NOUS will be a platform. Here it says infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service cloud provider. Of course, we have several objectives, and you see that some of them are related to data. And in fact, one of the objectives of NOUS is to connect to 3 or more data spaces. And that's why it's very important for us to understand exactly how it works and know something more about data spaces. And we hope that thanks to this workshop, we can also open the discussion and with our sister project, and also understand something more about the most appropriate or most relevant data spaces for our project. And of course, we have other objectives, such as this creation of a sort of Stack Overflow, so a place where we can discuss about data sharing or also exchanging technical questions. And but as said, and other components, as said, related to the possibility to speed up computation and edge computing as well. One other important component of our project is this implementation of the blockchain in a decentralized database. So we have discussed about the main objective. I think the high-level architecture or objectives of our project are now enough clear. Of course, we would like to produce or have a very important impact in from several points of view. Especially, we have very ambitious KPIs and objectives regarding scientific publications. So we have a lot to work in this direction. So at this point, I would like to invite the first speaker, who is Panayoti Moraitis.
Thank you, Shalini, for the presentation and the brief introduction of NOUS. Allow me a few seconds to share my screen. I hope that everyone can listen to me pretty well. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. So hi again, I'm Moritz Panagiotis. I'm a project manager of Netcompany Intrasoft. I have some of my colleagues from the company, the audience, and also most of the partners from the NOUS ecosystem. I'm going to, since Celini gave you a brief overview of the objectives and the impact of NOUS, I'm going to talk a bit of how we're going to implement this kind of solution, how have envisioned the NOUS to become a middleware platform, the importance of the different roles and the actors of this ecosystem, how we align with the current trends, and more specifically with a simple open architecture, and a quite simple but I hope very informative way to discuss about the data space connectors and the open source tools that we are using. So as Lini said, the dependency of Europe and especially European business on other vendors, it's quite limiting. It unavoidably leads to a vendor lock-in, and it's not only bad for business because they create really closed ecosystems. They don't really allow new players, new ideas to participate. This is not really bad for business, but it's really bad for innovation and the development of use case specific solutions. So when we try to plan the NOUS, we wanted to have a system that has a great degree of integration, bridge all the gaps between the diverse systems, the different technologies, the protocols. We need seamless communication and data exchange between all of those systems, new and legacy systems. We need really good scalability, but also to come with the right performance. We need to distribute the workloads across the different servers, the different services. We want security and reliability. We also want compliance with the EU regulations. In order to have a really successful solution. We need really simplified development cycle and also maintenance of the existing components. We use reusable services, reusable components. We need interfaces that are standardized, and we need centralized configuration. We don't want to create a solution that will be just a simple demonstrator that is going to be forgotten after a couple of years. We really need and really want to offer improved business solution. And we need rapid application development, and we need to be adaptable to the changes. The ones that are going to use the NOUS ecosystems more or less are divided in four different categories. We want people and organizations that are going to share their data. We need organizations that are going to share infrastructure. We have in mind some use cases with hypercomputers or quantum computing infrastructure. We want organizations that are going to share applications to the ecosystem that are specific for the use case of NOUS, but also in general good for the ecosystem. And we would need a series of organizations and entities to act as end consumers. This is the solution. This is an approach actually that heavily simplifies the interactions and the relations between the actors. In reality, we have complex processes. We have users agreements. We have billing processes in the middle. But we are going to provide a more in-depth analysis of these roles in the near future when we develop the actual business use case scenarios. I want to highlight also that these different groups of stakeholders must and will switch roles. You can, at one instance, be a data provider, but at the other instance, we want you to become a data consumer or an infrastructure consumer. And in order to create and achieve this modularity and this scalability, we need a component that's going to fit all the use cases, is going to fit all the participants and the stakeholders. And therefore, we are aiming for a solution that is going to be part of a middleware in order to federate data, infrastructure, software, and hardware at the same time. We don't only want to build data spaces, and this is really the first time that I'm using the term data spaces in these presentations, but we want to connect to create interoperability between existing data spaces, new data spaces, applications, and infrastructure. We want to accommodate a large number of participants and want them to interact at the same time, having really good performance and really good speed. And we want the deployment of the middleware to have a high degree of granularity. And by say high degree of granularity, I mean that we would like the same software to become applicable for all different stakeholders. We want, with the same software, the data providers, the infrastructure providers, the application providers, and the end user to be able to communicate with each other, exchange data, applications, software, innovate, and create value. Therefore, we're going to create an ecosystem with the NOUS participant agent. Here is an example of how we envision these interactions to take place. As an example, in the NOUS, we have a use case where we have research institutes sharing, consuming data and applications and running simulations on the on hypercomputers and quantum computers networks. For example, we have we could have a university, a research center wanting data from a third party, and they want to run an HPC on an HPC, a really highly computational and heavy computational simulation using specific applications from another party. And we want all of them to be to be compliant with all the regulations, GDPR, Data Act, etc. So we want a large number of interactions to take place simultaneously, and we want them to be compliant with regulations and be also compatible with the NOUS ecosystem. So you need the trade-off here of what kind of centralized and decentralized services that are required. We want the NOUS to become as decentralized as possible. We want to exploit to the fullest the edge components and have minimal responsibility to the centralized services. At the moment, we have identified a couple of services that mainly are going to be or to rely heavily on centralizations. These are going to be limited to data application and infrastructure cataloging, vocabulary provision, and identification/certification authorities. So the million-dollar question is how we achieve this solution. We would like to follow the simple open architecture. Simple Open is an open source. It's a modular and interoperable middleware developed under the European Cloud Federation initiative. It aims to allow organizations across different sectors to share processes, data in a really decentralized and policy-driven, but also trust-based and secure way. We want to use Simple Open as the blueprint to federate data, applications, and infrastructure. We know that it's not the silver bullet. We know that this is an action that is in very early stages. It has only developed specific use cases such as onboarding and identification management, and data and application sharing. The vision of NOUS is quite more ambitious. It accents on blockchain integration, on HPC and quantum computing integration, and federated learning integration. These processes are not at the moment integrated into the NOUS, into the Simple Open architecture. But we, as NOUS ecosystem, we aim to be part of that. So how would we envision to materialize all that? Having as a blueprint the Simple Open architecture, we aim to create, as I told you, a middleware, an agent that is going to be the center of a decentralized ecosystem. As NOUS, we want different data spaces to be able to connect with the agent and provide to the end users access to data, applications, and different infrastructure platform such as HPC or quantum computing. We want this software to be able to accommodate different use cases, different roles, and for different stakeholders, but at the same time, we want to keep it very simple in the development and maintenance. Therefore, we want the same software to be able to be installed in for each user with different, let's say, flavors to serve different use case scenarios. Therefore, the NOUS participating agent will not only create specific data spaces, but aims to offer interoperability between different data spaces. That's why we want to remain agnostic to the specific of particular data spaces. We want to allow additional data spaces to be integrated in the ecosystem. Therefore, we have identified the key points that need to be developed in the context of NOUS, and these are the standardization of protocols, standardizations of engines, certifications, rules, and identification processes. So a very simple slide to represent an example of how a set of distributed actors can interconnect to form a data space. This is just a possible scenario. We aim to have many different scenarios that can take place. Applications, end users, infrastructure providers interacting with each other in order to provide value and innovation. The number of the participants of a data space or the number of stakeholders behind a single actor, we want to be limited only by the technical feasibility. So the NOUS agent in this figure serves just as an abstract component that actors need to deploy to become part of the ecosystem, to fully deploy or partially deploy, depending on the use case and the and their role in the data space. So joining a data space is not like just calling a free API, a process that is very well known to most of us. It requires identifications and verification processes and complying with governance rules and regulations. But this ensures interoperability. At the moment, we trying to approach different data spaces, we can see that most of the organizations follow a hybrid approach. They follow data spaces, but at the same time, they limit their role. Since it's a new technology, and they want to increase the adoption. So more or less that was my presentation. I know that we have some more coming, so I think questions are in the end.
Thank you very much, Panayotis. I think yes, I agree with you. It's better to proceed with the next presentation. Savas.
Thank you very much, Selene. Thank you for the invitation and also the opportunity for me to present to this very nice event that you have been organizing. Allow me to share my screen first of all. And I hope that now you are able to see my screen. Okay, perfect. So again, thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Savas Rogotis. I'm a Data Ecosystem Senior Project Manager coming from the Big Data Value Association, BDVA, and I'm also in the context of this meeting going to represent the Data Space Support Center. That, as many of you might know, it's one of key initiatives in Europe fostering the deployment of the so-called Common European Data Spaces. But let me first present you some aspects of the organization that I'm coming from, so BDVA. So I'm starting with this in my presentation. So BDVA, for those that might not know, is an industry-driven research and innovation organization that has as its mission to develop an innovation ecosystem, enable data-driven and AI digital transformation of the economy and society in Europe. It is an industry association that, a members association that started back in 2014 as the private counterpart of BDV, private-public partnership. But since then, of course, it has evolved much. It has been part of thereafter of the ADRA partnership as one of the founding members. It has been also a private member for the Euro HPC joint undertaking. And apart from that, it has been focusing on fostering many collaboration and synergies in order also to provide value for its members and also to provide concrete outcomes for the overall research and innovation community. One of these big collaborations is coming through this Data Spaces Business Alliance, so that BDVA together with Fireware, with IDS and GIX have been building this partnership to foster also the data space ecosystem. And also BDVA has been part of other important collaborations. Out of all these activities, together with these partnerships, but also with its members, BDVA has been had the opportunity to support the research and innovation community in data and AI in Europe. It has now more than 250 members, and this is growing and produce concrete and important outcomes also in together with the commission bodies and so forth. BDVA has been also part of important projects for in this context, and I have also the opportunity to present to you also here the DSCC that BDVA is a consortium partner. So let me provide to you some more information about these strategic themes that BDVA is following. So an important part of BDVA's strategic agenda is to empower European industries and societies for a human-centric digital future, to expand data-driven ecosystem across sectors, global value chains, to make data and AI innovations fit for emerging infrastructure and platforms. Another important theme is to support the sustainable data and AI, enhance efficiency and resilience while reducing resource demands. and finally, to integrate innovation, ethics, and compliance. These are all important pillars in BDVA's strategic agenda. Important part of the work of BDVA is happening within the task forces. So the community, because as I said, it's a community-driven, is an association, industry-driven association. Important part of this work is happening through the task forces of BDVA. So here members convene in sectoral task forces, cross-sectoral task forces, and foundational task forces, and try to produce concrete outcomes out of these collaborations, and of course supporting the whole research and innovation community is part of this work. So again, BDVA is one of key initiatives, key industry associations that support the data and AI ecosystem in Europe. And now going back to the Data Space Support Center that I mentioned before, that I'm going to bring all of this hat, considering the fact that also BDVA is part of the consortium. Just for you that might not know about the DSCC, it's a virtual organization and an EU-funded initiative that is supporting the deployment of the so-called Common European Data Spaces. It has started at the end of 2022, and it's expected to last as a project, as an EU-funded project, until March 2026. It is backed by 12 consortium members. I mentioned before that BDVA is part of the consortium, also Fireware, that we have also Juanjo here later on, is part of the consortium of the DSCC. But we are also supported with a set of associate and collaboration partners that complement us not only in the expertise that they bring to the consortium, but also in bringing greater geographical coverage that is so important to maximize the impact of the initiative. I'm bringing now this slide that I know that it has a lot of information that is not very easy to be read, but it pretty much presents this the DSCC value chain and how DSCC starts from somehow a customer-centric place orientation, and in order to provide guidance and support for the establishment and the deployment of the common European data spaces. So DSCC is a community somehow driven initiative. We are building in the DSCC a very large and diverse network of stakeholders that we try to engage with, co-learn with them, and also, of course, co-create. We leverage on insights and knowledge gained with these activities that we do with this network of stakeholders, distill this knowledge, and together with a pool of experts that we have also within our consortium, we synthesize the results in order to create a set of deliveries in the form of assets. And you may find here in the synthesis part a set of assets that is quite important that we produce as DSCC. That is the glossary for data spaces, the starter kit, the design principles, but many of you might already know a very important outcome of the Data Space Support Center, that is the Data Spaces Blueprint. Of course, we try to disseminate as much as we can all of our outcomes, and we have important work items here. The Data Spaces Symposium is one of them that I wanted to emphasize. We had 2 weeks ago the Data Spaces Symposium in Warsaw in Poland that was a premier event for the data spaces community. And finally, we try to offer all these outcomes as a guidance and support for the data spaces community. So we have also more assets, more deliveries that are offering this guidance and support to the data space community. All of these are now found in our knowledge base, in the DSCC knowledge base, that you have the QR code and also the link. Okay, let me go and zoom in a little bit to the network of stakeholders. I mentioned to you before that this is very wide and very diverse. I know that this figure is also a way to somehow visualize for us the internal structure, how we structure this network of stakeholders. So we pretty much structure this in 3 main groups. A key group, and I wanted to emphasize this, is the so-called community of practice. So the community of practice of this stakeholder network comprises of the data space initiatives that for us are the primary customers for the DSCC. It's a very hands-on group that we are collaborating with in order, from one hand, to learn from their experiences, because they are actually building data spaces out there, and from our hand, if we can try to support them in their endeavor. There is also this strategic stakeholder forum. You can see it on the right-hand side, that this is a multi-stakeholder group that now it's a set of organizations. So here you are not going to find initiatives or consortia compared to the community of practice, but you will find single organizations, single entities that have a very active strategic and advisory role for the DSCC. And finally, you could see on the left-hand side the liaisons and collaborations group that is, again, a very wide and diverse group, part of the network of stakeholders, that comprises here of some initiatives that could be found in the perimeter, if I can say, of the data space ecosystem, but it's also very influential for this for the deployment of data spaces. And for example, you may find here important actors, stakeholders in the AI community, in the cybersecurity community, hubs, and important also actors like standard development organization, and of course research projects that are contributing to data spaces. So with all this wide network of stakeholders, we try to co-learn together. We have important instruments to support this co-learning and co-create to them. Also, for the community of practice, we try to also to offer them support. And I could say here that it's very nice that we have also this interaction with your projects, because your project is listed and is part of this network of stakeholders as part of the liaisons and collaborations group. Let me now zoom in a little bit into the community of practice, because it has been mentioned before, the ambition also to connect with the community, with the data space initiatives that are found out there. So you might find here in this slide the DSCC community of practice. These are data space initiatives operating in key verticals, in key sectors for the European economy. So you can see, for example, initiatives operating in the language domain, in the health, in public sector, mobility, energy, and so forth. We are pretty much offering support, and we are trying to put an emphasis on the initiatives that are coming from the Digital Euro program, but of course all other data space initiatives are relevant in this discussion. Of course, the collaboration is simple, falls for the DSCC under this umbrella of this community of practice. Again, now trying to zooming in now to the third group, the collaborations and liaisons that I mentioned to you before, I wanted to emphasize that the research and innovation projects that are contributing with important outcomes to the future of data spaces, if I can say also, are listed here. And also the NOUS project is part of this group. And I had the pleasure also to organize a year ago, had an intro activity together with NOUS and other sister projects funded under the same call, that we had this very early introduction activities that was very important for us, and I think that more will be coming soon. So together with all this big portfolio of research projects, DSCC is planning to do more activities in the next period. Now, let me go and pass from the network of stakeholders to some concrete outcomes of the DSCC, some important assets that we deliver for the data space community. I will try to mention the glossary. That is for us an important outcome of the DSCC, because we think that it's important that all practitioners, all stakeholders involved in the data space community speak pretty much the same language. So we have built this glossary, but also have been the starter kit and is to read Introduction to Data Space and the DSCC content. So these are important outcomes and delivery documents out of activities of the DSCC. I mentioned to you before the blueprint for data spaces, another key asset of the Data Space Support Center. And the blueprint comprises, at a certain extent, and this is an important part of the blueprint, on the building blocks, the so-called building blocks. And these are key functional requirements for each data space. So each data space, in order to be built, needs to be comprised by a certain set of building blocks. And the blueprint of the data spaces provides these requirements for its specifications for its building blocks. And we are dividing this into business and organizational, the green part, and the technical part. That is more on the technical side for building a data space. And just wanted to let you know that 2 weeks ago in Warsaw, in the Data Space Symposium, we had the opportunity to launch the blueprint version 2. So we pretty much update very often the outcomes of the deliveries of the DSCC, and the latest version of the blueprint version 2, was published just 2 weeks ago. So it has a lot of important updates. Some of them are listed in this slide, so that you could go through. And of some things that I would like to mention is, for example, the cross-data space interoperability aspects are now listed in the blueprint version 2. And this was an important activity that considered a lot of inputs from the community and the network of stakeholders that I mentioned before. You might find here on the right-hand side the building blocks, the categorization. I don't want to go much more in depth, but as I mentioned before, they are divided in the ones that are more on the business and organizational side, and then ones that are focusing more on the technical side. Now, another important outcome is the co-creation method. So I mentioned to you before the building blocks, but one might ask, okay, I know the building blocks, but where can I start now if I want to build a data space? So the co-creation method pretty much answers this question. It provides a way to navigate through the building blocks and find a path in order to build a data space, or even update or evolve the one that you are already building. So depending on the maturity stage of a data space, the co-creation method can help you navigate through the building blocks and find a way to progress with the development and the building of your data space. Then we have the design principles and synergies. So design principles are somehow guidelines that assist data space initiatives in making informed decisions, minimizing somehow the risk of data space design. So it's important guidelines that are somehow more horizontal and try to address pillars at the same time, pillars that are found in the blueprint, like the technical pillar or the business and organizational pillar at the same time. But some of them are more focused on specific building blocks and the important guidelines, principles for driving these developments. And also another outcome is the synergies. We have built a discussion paper on the importance of synergies of data spaces, and this encompasses also the discussion about cross-data space interoperability that is getting more and more attention in the last period within the data space ecosystem. Finally, and before closing with my presentation, I would like to present also to you another important outcome of our work. This is the toolbox that is actually a collection of real implementations. So for those that are creating important software, but also beyond, because this is not only for the technical part of the data spaces, the ones that are building important outcomes, components, supporting the deployment of data spaces, they could apply to be listed in the so-called toolbox of the DSCC. This has somehow a one-to-one match with the building blocks that I presented to you before. So important components that somehow address and follow the specifications of the building blocks for building a data space could be listed as curated implementations for those that might want to build data spaces in the future. So they could go to this listing, could find components there, and they could base their implementation in this specific curated catalog of components. And so with this, I think that I will close my presentation. I would be happy to answer to any questions, or if someone wants to contact me later on, of course, you can find my email here, and I will be very happy to answer to anything that is might need clarifications. Thanks, Celine. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Salvas. Just because it's a very quick question, is it possible to provide the link? I think the glossary is here. It writes NOUS glossary. I think it refers to the DSS, the Data Space Support Center. So if you could please...
I will put it in the chat. I will put it in the chat.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good. So... Mr. Eugenio Hierro, please. Thank you for...
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. I hope you can hear me. I will be sharing. Someone else is sharing, so okay, maybe I have to. All right, now. Yes, and I hope you will be seeing my presentation now about Fireware Data Space Components Division. Can someone confirm it's there?
Yes.
In the screen? Okay, good. All right. The disadvantage of being the last is that there is not that much time to, so I'll try to cover things as fast as I can. Well, maybe many of you already know about Fireware. Fireware is an open source initiative. NOUS intends to deliver open source platform. So probably there are quite a number of components. I invite you to take a look that have been developed and curated over the years for helping and supporting the development of what we refer to as smart solutions in different sectors, but also helping to integrate systems within organizations. And the reason why we also are tackling components for data spaces is that Fireware as well is delivering open source components that may help that kind of organizations or applications to become visible in ecosystems where they can expose their services in a standard manner and be consumed to build quite innovative processes from different consumers in a decentralized manner. We, as Fireware, want to remark we are about delivering software that works, but play a very active role in those organizations that are driving the specifications we are adopting for everything we create. And that's the reason why we are very active in communities like W3C at CTM Forum or IDSA and GEX. Some positions, very important positions, statements that I want to really bring in this presentation about data spaces, because from our point of view, they are a little bit narrow vision on data spaces in some cases. For us, data spaces are not just about exchange of data sets, okay? It's really about creating an ecosystem involving providers of products, which may be products that come from very simple products like a data set that, yes, you make available for a certain price perhaps, but also covering really sophisticated products that are, complete applications comprising several services, including data processing services. So it's not just about exchanging data, it's also about how you integrate services that a third party may be offering for processing your data. And in that sense, data spaces as becoming the kind of ecosystem that will allow organizations to extend their map of systems to incorporate services that are provided from the cloud or on the edge, and that they will integrate to extend their map of systems. This is very important. So in that sense, I like the vision about NOUS, because I think it really complements very well this vision of data spaces that we have. Another very important concept that is not that present in some presentations about data spaces is the fact that data spaces are not just about B2B interactions, it's also about end users accessing services, accessing processing services in the data space. And that is a very important aspect to consider. Last but not least, data spaces are about agreements on what standards to adopt in solving a number of questions which cover many aspects. And actually, if you want data spaces to become truly open ecosystems where participants may emerge and dynamically and be able to interact with any other of the already existing participants, like in many ways similar as how things happen in the World Wide Web, you need to come with agreement on a number of standards and covering different aspects. Here in the following slides, and not going too much into the details, I'm listing the most important elements that we need to standardize. Some people may be conveying messages like, okay, if you adopt just this protocol, you would be interoperable. That's not true. There are many things that have to be agreed in a data space to really fulfill the kind of interoperability that's needed to really emerge a as a open innovation ecosystem. Things like the protocols for actual exchange among participants, how I invoke a service, how no matter if it is a data access service or a processing service, we need to come with an agreement of what APIs will be used, because if any provider comes with their specific APIs, and it will be very difficult to really scale up the ecosystem. Protocols for exchange of large data sets. A very important aspect, the data models. We talk about participants that need to exchange, and this means agreeing on what are the semantics of the messages they exchange and the data they share. Publication and discovery mechanisms. Very important to achieve trust is how we implement the process of acquiring the rights to use a product, meaning the services that product involves. This is something that needs to be standardized, because if every participant comes with its own means for getting rights to use the service they offer, this becomes a little bit a chaos, and you would not be able to really exploit this economy of scale. Decentralized identity management is something that, from our point of view, is crucial. I mean, I don't believe really we can talk about data spaces if you don't come with really a decentralized identity management approach. Policy definition language. You need to come providers should agree on what is the language they use for describing the policies they will be enforcing when any consumer tries to, access their services. Because if anyone comes with a different definition language, then again, it's difficult. Consumers wish to also be able to use the same language for understanding what are the kind of policies that a service they want to use or they are considering using will be enforcing. And last but not least, there should be registry services that enable to confirm whether a given organization that is assessing my service is really a trusted participant in the ecosystem. So overall, very important. A data space at the end of the day becomes a set of agreements, as an ecosystem relying on agreements taken on all these standards that are needed, that I have very quickly enumerated before, and of course governance in the sense of any other complementary legal agreements and all that kind of stuff, organization agreements that need to be put in place that already were introduced previously by the previous speaker. Now to a bit conclude what the Fireware community is contributing here is software that works, software components that are meaningful standalone, but can be also integrated together to make data space happen. And those Fireware data space components comprise already identity and access, identity management based on verified credentials, complying with the W3C standards for DID for verified credential formats, implementing the family of OpenID for verified credential protocols, this way ensuring that what the kind of data spaces you would be able to create are compatible with the approach that the Commission is pushing for European Union digital identity. The OpenID for verified credentials family of protocols have been adopted already for implementing things like digital wallets and stuff like that. Of course, in terms of verifying the trust of participants, we already have covered the components needed to interface with GAIX digital clearinghouses. We implement schemas for authorization management based on AP6, one of the most popular open source frameworks for implementing API gateways. We have extended to incorporate the support of enforcement of policies expressed in ODRL, which is a W3C standard recommended by many initiatives in data spaces. Very important contract negotiation based on TM4 APIs, which is a very solid industry standard for managing how you acquire the rights to use a service that a given provider is offering in the ecosystem. And this, I think, might be very relevant for NOUS because it will ensure compatibility with DOM. DOM is, probably you have heard about the initiative by the Commission within the Digital Europe program about creating a marketplace of cloud and edge services. So therefore, in my opinion, it now intends to deliver a middleware for creation of such kind of services. Then, it will, these kind of components will really easy how services implemented using NOUS platform will be able to integrate easily with DOM. Support of IDS, some of the IDS data space protocols, the transfer process catalog for exposing the services that you make accessible from through a connector, and in a nutshell, components that are based on solid open standards coming from W3C, from organizations as relevant as OpenID, Foundation, TM Forum, and so on, which can be used standalone. So therefore, the components I would encourage you to consider for the integration in the NOUS architecture, but also can be used together. And that's how, for instance, the Fireware Data Space Connector is created as a combination of them. All in all, creating a portfolio of components that will ensure that whatever architecture you are designing might be better aligned with the SBA recommendation, better aligned with the European Union Digital Identity Regulation and architecture and frameworks recommended in this initiative, and compatible with DOM. Summary, Fireware, good track record, I think, in moving from vision to execution, providing the kind of standards that and the kind of components that will ensure to set up data spaces meeting the requirements and the features that I described, and ensuring that those data spaces are not just about exchange of data, but really integration of cloud and edge services for access to data, but also processing of data, enabling human-to-machine interactions, not only machine-to-machine, and in that respect, supporting the best alignment with the SBA recommendations and EU policies for digital ID and compatibility with them. Thank you. Here you have my contact in case you need to further discuss, and of course, happy to take any questions if we still have some time.
Thank you very much. I think it's a lot of information from everybody. I don't know if from the participants there are questions, or maybe there are too many and too much information to digest. I think yeah. I think everything is. It has been very useful for us and for NOUS, and we had a very nice overview of the activities of the Fireware and the BDVA and the Data Space Support Center. So I think. For sure, we should continue the interaction and the exchange of information in order to relate as much as possible the activities between our projects and your initiatives. I don't think this is something we can discuss or do right now during this workshop. I think this has been a nice opportunity to introduce and understand what are your projects and what are the main links, what could be the main links with the NOUS. And I think there are several, especially for what concern the data spaces, which are also the main topics. I don't know if somebody from the speakers, the panelists, or the audience would like to add something. So I just take then the opportunity to thank you very much. Everything was very interesting. So I think we can also, can we share your presentation with our partners? I don't know how it works, if it's possible to share it also in the link of our website. I don't know how it works, but we will decide in a separate discussion. So I would like to then to close this workshop, and thank you again for this opportunity and for your time to connect and speak and present your activities to everybody and to us. So thank you, and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.